All right. So okay, 1 minute. There are people coming in and just letting them come in. All right. So in the week number 1, where I was discussing about the initial about Java and how to create variables and initial setup of Java. Now in this week, I told you that in week 1, I was left out with a couple of topics, especially in the I think loop concept and Var Arcs concept. So I will quickly go over them. That's that, and also I will quickly walk you through with the solution for week number 1, and then I will get started with week number 2. I still see that there are people here who is having issues with Java installation and also to write a basic command in terms of the instantiation of Chrome driver. So I would like to know, I think Pratik, you told me that you have a problem there.
Yeah.
Okay. Who else is having a problem? I mean, if you're trying to instantiate Chrome driver, are you getting any problem like the one which Pratik has mentioned in the Slack channel? So he's getting this error where it's saying that port 4444 is busy. I'm not sure why it is busy, because you are first and foremost not working with Selenium Grid. I don't understand why 4444 is busy. This port is basically used by Selenium Grid. Now, if it is busy, then we can definitely kill the port or clear the port, and then we can give it a try. So, by the way, 1 minute. Amy saying she can't hear me. Amy, can you hear me? Hi, Amy, can you hear me? Hello, Amy, can you hear? Yeah, you can hear me, but I don't know. Amy is mentioning in the chat that she can't hear me. Yeah, because she didn't join the.
I understand, Eric. Sorry.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Amy can't hear me. That's weird. She can. Okay, let me just try to chat with her. Okay. So what we can do, Pratik, is we can try to clear the port, the 4444 port, right? You can easily do this. Just Google it and say how to clear Windows port, right? And there are just few commands that you have to do. How to delete, how to clear or reset the COM ports. Windows port, right? There's a task kill method, not a method, just a command. Yeah, here, that's it. So you can just go on here and give it a try with this section where you can just look for the just type this command netstat a.
Okay, just a second.
Yeah, just say netstat -a -n-o, and this will give you the port number, and along with that will give you the process ID. This PID is something with the process ID, and then you can just say kill the process ID, and that should clear you that 4444 port, and then you can give that a try. Okay.
Okay, I'll try that.
Yeah, just try this command. If it's not working, then let me know. Or
Sure.
there are a few more commands as well. Netstat -a-n-o, and then force it to kill the process ID for that particular port number. So you can do that as well, and then you can kill it. Okay, let me know if it is working for you. If not, I'll see after the class. Okay,
Fine, fine.
so that's that, and let me go to my Google Drive. Okay. Okay. Right. So as a part of this class, I have remembered that I spoke about relational operators, I spoke about arithmetic operators, I spoke about logical operators. Okay, thank you, Amy. I spoke about pre and postfix operators, assignment operators, ternary operators, and array. I give a quick understanding of what is an array and how exactly arrays are created. So I just want to know that, do you have any questions for me until whatever I have discussed so far in the week number 1? Do you have any questions for me, guys? Yes, no? Any questions? Or should I get started with array directly? No? What about others? Okay. Okay. Let me pick up someone randomly and start asking questions. It will make things a little bit understandable for everyone that where we stand right now. So simple stuff. Can you guys tell me what are different ways we can increment the value of a variable by, I mean, what are different ways we have to increment the value of a variable?
Plus a.
Okay, that's a pre-increment operator. What other options do I have?
We can do using post as well.
Yes, we can do post as well.
Yeah.
What else do I have? Majek, do you want to try and tell me if I want to increase the value of a variable, how will I do it? Simple. Pankaj says a equals to a plus 1. Perfect. That's very good.
I'm gonna have to catch up with this, Sovik.
Okay, but Majek, you already had 1 week time in between, right?
Yeah, I did. Yeah, I missed last weekend. Yeah.
Okay, so the point is this, Majek, or for everyone ideally, if you keep on piling up things, then it'll be a problem. It will just overpower you, and you will never be able to come to the end of it. So you have to somehow the other pick up your time. Time management is on your head. I cannot really do anything with that. So you have to put the time. It is not a magic pill. It will never get into your head if you think that I'm going to keep it aside for a day or two and then come back to it. You have to attack it from day 1. So these are basics of basics, Magic, or for everyone ideally. We cannot avoid this. Amy says a plus equals to b. Perfect. That's another one. Very good. Duncan says int a equals to a minus minus. Yes, absolutely. A plus plus. Yes, absolutely. These are exactly what I wanted to hear. All these different options to increment, self-increment the value of a variable. Very good. Okay. What are 3 different ways we have to declare an array?
I think you were showing on the screen.
Yeah, I just have to. Yeah, actually, I am putting a. The chat window is on top of the screen, so which is why I don't see that it's shown to you. Anyways,
I like the best one is int bracket, then there's square brackets a equals to, then those curly brackets where you give the values 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and close it.
yes,
Yeah,
that is one. That is one way, obviously, right? We can use multiple ways. We can give the index or the size of the array. That is with the help of this particular situation where I can go and I can say, let me here, right? So I can say int num equals int, sorry, num equals to new int, and you just give the value as 5. That is creating 5 empty boxes for you to store numbers, right? If I want to store string, I will just say string names equals new string, and square bracket, I just give the size, and that creates empty boxes to work with. And then inside that, I can just simply pass on the values. So it's a names or num, and then I can access that particular value with an index, and then I can just say whatever the value I want to store. That's it. This is how your normal array works. I have discussed about if condition. Okay, another quick question. I spoke about if and I spoke about nested if. Can you guys tell me if this command is a valid command or not? If this particular program is a valid program or not? So I say something like this. I say if A is greater than B, then I want to do something. So I want to print SYSO. I want to print 1. Else I want to print SYSO 2, and just a second. And finally, I can say else if B is greater than C, I want to print SYSO, I want to print 3. Can I do something like this? Is it possible to do something like this?
Need the else at the end.
Sorry?
You need the else part at the end rather than the else if. You need to swap those, I think.
So basically you're trying to say that it is not a valid command?
I think you need to, because the bottom part will never ever be looked at. It's going to be either the first if or the second else, where the system gets the sys out 3 will never be printed.
The point is,
What is the
Your-
value of A and B?
sorry?
5 and 6? What is the value of A and B if you are considering 5 and 6?
That doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter. Okay.
The question is, if this command that I'm writing, this program that I'm writing is correct or not. Look at the structure and tell me if it's right or wrong. I have an
Yes.
if block, I have an else block, and then I have an else if block. Is this a valid program
No,
or not?
I don't think so. No, it's not a valid one.
So the else if should be above the else statement.
Exactly.
That's correct. Yeah, that's what.
Exactly. So we cannot. So the point is this: we cannot keep else if at the bottom. If we can keep just if I want to ever, it doesn't mean that if I have a if I have to add an else. It's not like that. I can say if A is greater than B, I will go inside the if block, and whatever is between the if block SYSO, that part I will be executing. That's fine. If the if block can stay on its own and I don't have to add a else here. But if I want to add a else, then that goes here. Okay, else, just else. And then if you want to have a situation where you want to perform a else if, meaning you want to add another if to the else, then you just say if, and then you say if B is greater than C, then you want to do something else. So 2, right? However, you cannot keep the else if below else. I'm just trying to show you what are the valid structures there. Making sense? I mean, your compiler, Eclipse itself will not allow you to run this program. So there are two different type of issues that we see in when we try to run the program. One is compilation problem, compilation, okay, and then runtime. One is a compilation error, another one is a runtime error. So compilation error will be picked up by Eclipse straight on the screen for you before even you run it, saying that it's not allowed, or you cannot, or Eclipse cannot run it for some reason. It will tell you the reason. If you hover on top of that, the error, it will tell you what is the reason behind that particular error. And sometimes Eclipse will not be able to catch it when you try to compile it. How do you compile the code? Nothing, just save it. Save the file, and then that will compile it. I told you last week why the compilation happens, or how the compilation happens with Eclipse. So it will just simply compile it, and then it will tell you what's the problem, right? But at times you will not be, Eclipse will not know the problem. For example, I have an int num equals 20, right? And I'm trying to print this syso num divided by 0, right? This is an arithmetical exception. I cannot divide a number with an error 0. But when you run it, Eclipse will never give you a compilation problem. But when you run it, that's where it will give you the exception in front of you. That is an arithmetical exception. I can just quickly do this in front of you. Just a minute. I will clear this guy and let me go to my Eclipse. My bad, wrong guy there. Okay, so I'll just quickly create a new Java project, and we'll say it as week 2 summary. Week 2 summary. All right, that's a finish. And don't create. And in here, just say a package, new package, Java test, right? And in this package, I just go and write my simple class here, close all other guys. I'll just say new class. And all I will say is, what is this? I'll say Java simple Java program. Okay, with the main method, finish. Good stuff. And that's my simple class here. Okay. Now, what I was saying is there are two types of problems that I was describing. For example, int a equals 20, int b equals 30. I say if a greater than b, sys out something, say hi, and else sys out by, and else if I want to give a condition, for example, and as soon as I try to do that, you see, as soon as I try to do that, Eclipse is giving me the problem saying syntax error token else delete this token is loud and clear and telling you that it's wrong program that I'm trying to create. So that's where you know that you're doing it wrong. You can keep else if block all it on its own, and there is no problem with that. On the other hand, I was talking about this section where sysout right? And you see, I say A divided by 0. Do I have a problem? I don't have a problem. Runtime, compile time, Eclipse is not complaining. However, if I go and if I run this, it will straight throw on my face that it's a arithmetic exception. I cannot divide a number with 0. There's a compile time exception and this is a runtime exception, and I told you how compile time works. Everybody's clear with that? Very simple concept. Everyone is clear with that?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
no?
sure, Vic, yeah.
Good. So now with that, I will quickly jump into what I was talking about. Arrays, I have spoken about 3 ways to declare arrays. That's perfectly fine. Let's go to loops. There are 4 different type of loops that we have generally. One is for, while, do while, and for each loop. Okay, there are 4 different loops that we have, and we will try to understand them because these guys are the building blocks of your entire programming career. So you have to understand them very well. So in case of a for loop, there is always a particular structure. Every loop is having a particular structure that we have to remember and work on it. For example, you see this particular section up here. Let me try to, okay, here. You see a for loop will obviously get started with the initialization of the counter. Counter meaning in the for loop, we always work with a range. You have to explicitly tell the loop that how long you really want to iterate, whatever the conditions, whatever the statement you are trying to process within the loop, how long you want to reiterate them. So you have to give a range. In for loop, you have to give a range. So you see, I'm starting my range counter from 0 to nums.length. What is nums.length? It is the property, it is the size property of an array. This is my array over here. I have given 6 values to it, sorry, 5 values to it. So the size of the array is 5, and I said nums.length. So basically I'm saying that I want to iterate them till the nums.length. Okay, getting some questions. Let me check the question. Okay, the array size, that's correct. Yes, that's the array size. And then all am I saying is that I want to increment, or I want to go to the nums.length starting from 0 with I++, meaning I want to increment the counter of the I by 1. Simple statement, very simple statement. Just one thing you have to keep in mind, that is nums.length. We are going to nums.length from 0 till the length minus 1. You see, that's why I say a lesser than symbol, right? A lesser than symbol, which means I want to go from 0 to 4. Why? Because my motive is to access each and every component of this array. So if you understand the array over here, and I told you last week that in array we have indexes, so 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So I have to go till the 4th index, meaning starting from 0 till the 4th index. And that's how I am able to just simply write one single line of statement within my for loop, which is system.out.println, right? And then I'm saying nums. Nums is nothing but the array. And within the array, I'm just saying, give me the index. How do I access the array? I told you earlier, if I want to get the access, if I want to get the value of an array, of a particular index, I would say nums, and then I will give the index number. So I'll say number 2, something like that, right? And that's how I will be able to access it. I will be able to access the index, which is going to be number 45 for me. So I have to just make sure that somehow this number 2 that I have, I can make it work as a variable, right? Which is why I'm replacing that number 2 with an I, because I is the variable in this case of in this loop, and it will increment and then it will print the value. Very simple stuff. Okay. Let me quickly move on to the other section. Always remember, in a for loop, there is a range to work with. In case of a while loop, we don't have a range.
Just one question, just on that one.
Sure.
When that's printing out, will it ever print the 12?
Yes, because I'm getting started with 0.
And it doesn't increment with the I++? so you've said I equals 0, but then at the end of that line you have I plus plus.
Right. So after this statement gets execute, then it increments, right?
Yeah.
When this
But
when
then,
this
then the next line is, I thought after that line is moved after I plus plus, then I
no
would have moved.
I mean the entire for loops, after entire for loop statement is covered, then the
Okay.
incrementation happens.
Okay. Get you.
Souvik, I have one query. In the for statement which we have written, what exactly does this thing do? I is less than nums dot length. What does that particular thing do?
It means I am trying to go to, okay, you know what, guys, you should always do the debugging. So I have a simple array, int array. I'm telling you from day one, guys, if you want to master in programming, you have to understand how to debug problems. So I'm giving some numbers, random numbers there, right? That's it. Once I have everything here, I want to try to understand what's going on with the for loop. Very simple. Just say for loop. I say int I equals 0. I equals 0. And then I say I less than nums dot length. Okay. And then I say I plus plus. And that's my for loop ending up there, the I plus plus. And then I just say I want to print out the value. So this out, and I just say nums, and then I say I there. Okay, perfectly fine. Now, if I just want to understand how it is working, put a breakpoint. That's the best thing that you can do. Before asking any doubt in your mind, first try to put a breakpoint and then try to understand what exactly is happening. So let me put a breakpoint and I say debug as Java program, and I will stop not here, but I'll just resume because it stopped here. I will resume from there to, oh my bad. Obviously, because there is an exception happened, my program just got stopped right here, line number 15. So I will just simply comment this out so that I can open up my for loop program for you. I'll just debug again. So I'm landing in line number 20 right there. At this moment, right at this moment, let us try to understand what's the value of I. So I is what? Oh, sorry. Yeah. So I is 0. Nums.length property is giving me the value. You see, I have to select this guy. I showed you last week as well. Select this guy and say watch. That gives you the information of what is happening. Nums.length is having the value as 5. So I have to somehow go till the value of 5, not exactly 5, because I said I less than 5, meaning I less than 5, meaning I want to go till the 4, right? So now I say I is 0. Now you see I is not yet incremented. Even this line is gone. I is not incremented. Now we will go to the next execution. So I just say step over, and that takes me to the next line. Now I got printed with the line number 12, I mean the value 12. So obviously I was able to cover up the first guy there. I was able to cover up the first guy there, and that's perfectly fine. Now then I value is, okay, this line is not yet completed. Now see, the line is completed. So I value is 1. So you see from 0 to 1, I'm going from 0 to 1, right? So I'm incrementing by 1. Is that making sense now?
Yes.
I will increment 1 by 1 by 1 until I reach the length minus 1. So length is 5. I have to go till the length minus 1 because I is less than 5, which means obviously I have to go till 4. Is that clear to everyone? Everybody is okay with that? Yes, no?
Yeah, Souvik.
Okay, that's good. So that is the for loop I said about for loop. What about the while loop? While loop is again very simple. What you do with that is you don't really work with the range there, but you ideally work with a status. Meaning what? Meaning, for example, I'm just writing a simple problem. I'll say Boolean status is a variable, and I'll make this guy as a false variable. The value of this variable is false. The default value of this variable is false. Perfectly fine. Now I'm going to write a program, or I'll just say it as a true. Never mind. That's fine. So now I will say something. I'll say while status. While status, meaning as long as the value of status is true. You can, so this command that I'm writing here, you can write it in two ways. Number one is you can say status equals to true. You can say that. You can say that. Or in Java, if you are working with Boolean variables, right? If you just say the value as this, just say, you don't have to explicitly say status equals to true. You don't have to say that. You just say status. That means this is a positive or a true or a positive. I would not say positive. I'll say true value. If you just say status, then it is going to be working as a true value. Just, you don't have to explicitly say equals to true. It means this two things means the same. If you want to say if it is a false, then you just say, you give an exclamation just before this, that makes it a false. If you want to check that as long as the status value is true, you want to perform some operation, then you just say something like this, where I'm saying while status equals true. That means as long as the value of status equals to true, you want to iterate this while loop over and over again. Meaning I can do something. Look at my situation. I'll say int count equals 10. Right? Simple thing. I'm saying int count equals 10. I'll say sys out here. I'll say within the sys out, I'll say I am in while loop. Now at this moment, right? At this moment, if I run this program, let's see what happens. Any guess, guys, what will happen if I run this program?
Infinite loop.
Exactly. Very good. Thank you. So if I just go and run this program, I'll get into an infinite loop, because I am just saying while status equals true, let's keep on printing this value up there, and I'm stuck in an infinite loop forever. Why? Because I am not telling how to kill the loop, how to come out of the loop. I'm not giving any condition there. On the other hand, if I just say this, I stopped it from this red button. If you get into a loop like this, you can just stop it from the red button. Now, once you are in this situation, how can you handle that? You can handle that by adding a condition, meaning you can say count. Sorry, I'll just say count value as 1, right? I'll say count plus plus. So I want to increment the count every time the loop iterates. I want to increment the count. That's fine. And then I say if count, okay, equals to 10, then change the status value to false. That's it. So I'm saying what? I'm saying as long as the value of the while loop status value is true, just go and keep on iterating. I'm saying that very clearly. Now, what am I doing here within that condition? I'm saying I'm just incrementing the value of count, obviously, because I have to give some kind of a end point to this loop. How long this loop can run, I have to tell it explicitly. So I'm saying I want to run this loop for 10 times. That's good. So I'm saying if the count is 10, then change the value of status to false, and I did that. And this time, if I run, I will be getting a better result. That's it.
10, yeah.
Make sense?
Yes, yes.
So while loop works with condition. I mean, it works with a condition that is going to evaluate it to a true or a false. So for example, the same problem, if I want to write it in terms of the array, that's my array. That's my array. We know the array index starts from 0. So I can say something like this. I have a count equals 0. That's perfectly fine. I would say sys out. Sorry, not there, here. So I say sys out, and I say array nums, and I say the value is count. Perfectly fine. So the value is count. This will, if I run this, what will happen? I will again get into an infinite loop because I'm not incrementing the value of count. So I'm just always printing the value of 12. I mean, the first index is 12. I'm always printing that. That's not what we want, right? We want to increment to the level where I want to kill the loop. How do I kill the loop? I can kill the loop by, again, adding a condition saying I have to somehow increment the value of count. So it's a count plus plus. That's number one. Second thing that I want to do is I want to say if the count, okay, equals to nums.length, or not equals to, but less than nums.length. If that happens, nums.length minus 1, sorry, I'll just say equals to nums.length minus 1. If count is nums.length minus 1, then I want to just say status equals false. Why am I bothered till nums.length? Because I told you the last index of an array is 4. It starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the length value of the nums is 5. So I have to go till the 4th index, right? So that's why
they are 5 numbers, but the last index is number 4. Yeah.
Exactly. That's right. So I get till that, and then I just say, okay, nums.length minus 1, and I'm just going to simply work with it. I just say, all right, so I have everything here. Now if I run it, I should be able to access all the values just there. 1 minute. Oh yeah, two times printed because of this loop and this loop. Second loop. There are 2 while loops, right? There are 2 loops, right? This for loop. Let me, if I take this out, and if I run this, then I will just get 1 set of answers, and that's it. Very simple understanding. That's the situation with while loop. Again, with do while loop, I have mentioned it in the video. That is, the do while loop works exactly the same way as while loop. However, in do while loop, you have just one additional feature, and that is you can, no matter what, you can at least trigger the first index value, meaning you can say that I want to print out, no matter what the condition is, if the condition is true or false, doesn't matter. If the condition is true or false, because if you remember the while loop statement, in the while loop statement, whatever we put in here, where is my drawing? Whatever I put in here, that is my status, right? That's my status. Correct? That's the condition evaluation that's happening here. Similarly, in do while loop as well, we have a condition which is right here. That's my condition just in this case. Correct? I'm having a condition. Now, if this condition is true only then, in case of while loop, if this condition is true only then, I will be getting inside the loop and I will execute the statement. In do while loop, it doesn't matter if this condition is true or false. I will still be able to execute at least the first instant or the first statement at least once, because you see, in case of the do while loop, the loop is kind of upside down. I say do and then a while. On the other hand, in case of this guy, it is a while. The while condition gets checked first and then the statement. There's a difference. There's a do, that means do the job first and then check the condition. And in the earlier case, check the condition and then do the statement. That's why they are different. Is that making sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Is the do while loop, would you encounter a do while loop much in automation, Civic?
No, absolutely not. I personally have used mostly for loop for each loop a lot and while loop sometimes. I have never used do while loop, but it's good to know understanding purpose that why and how do while loop is kind of working. But from automation perspective, I didn't find any kind of requirement really where I need to use a do while loop,
Yeah, and you can achieve the same thing with a do loop or with a for loop and a while loop, right?
You can. I mean here it's just a condition that says that no matter what you want to at least print one value out of this loop, the first index, no matter what. That's the only difference between a do while loop and a while loop. That's it. Okay. And finally, I will love to talk about the for each loop, because this guy is going to be a lifesaver for when we deal with collections. Collections meaning like array is a collection, right? A collection meaning you're representing one particular variable that can hold multiple values. So like we have arrays, we have array list, we have hash map, we have sets, we have linked hash map. There are many different stuff that we will be going through later on. But for now, you can understand that array collection is nothing but a variable, a simple variable representation where we can store multiple set of values. So that is array is a collection. Now, you see, if you look at the structure of this for loop, it's very, very nice, and you don't have to really break your head into it. Meaning, I have a simple array here, this array here. Now, I want to print all the values from this array. Okay, I want to print or I want to access them. So with the for loop or with the while loop, you have always seen that I have a problem in terms of I have to give that where do I end the loop. So I have to give a condition. I have to always keep on thinking about how do I increment the counter one by one. But in case of for each loop, that is not what we are looking for. What we can do is we can just simply say for, and then we have to just understand that the loop that we are trying to work on, what is the data type that loop is holding. For example, in this case, we have the loop which is holding data type that is int. It's an int data type loop. Perfectly fine. So I know that this array is holding integers. So first and foremost, the statement will be going like this. I say int, and then I give a variable num. And they say colon, and they say nums. Nums is the array. Nums is the array which is just here. Nums is the array that is holding all the values. That's perfectly fine. And then I have nums, and then I have num here. Why this num is important? Because you see, in this for loop, you are not bothered about the range. No range required. No counter required. We don't need any of it. We don't have to break our head how to end this loop. We just say, what is the data type this loop is working with? Data type is int, that's it. So the idea is very simple. The loop will keep on iterating on its own as long as the collection is having a value. As long as the collection will have a value, the loop will automatically keep on iterating. Meaning, what will it do? For each and every iteration, what it will do is it will try to access the value one at a time to the variable num. That's why you're giving a variable here called int num, because when the iteration happens for each and every iteration, you want to access one value at a time. That's why you are giving this int num over here. So meaning I can say something like this. I say, sorry, not here, but I'll say sys out. Okay. Within the printout statement, I just say nothing, but just say num, right? That's it. Now, if I put a breakpoint right here, and if I just run this, so I'm stopping in line number 36. It is coming from the previous loop. That's good. Now you see right at this moment, this value num, so nums is having 12, 34, 56, 78, 89. Out of that, if you hover on top of num, it is only having the value 12, meaning the first index is accessed. And that is the value you are printing just there. And that keeps on happening as long as there is a value. As long as the value is over, it comes out of the loop. That's it. A very, very, very simple loop to work with. I mean, in terms of collections, when you're working with collection, then this loop is the most preferred choice for me. I mean, the same operation you have seen, I can do it with while loop or for loop, but for each loop is like much more simpler to deal with collections. That's the end of the loop that I wanted to cover up. I want to know if you have any questions for me in terms of loops. Any questions? Eric or Amy or Austin? No questions, guys? All right.
Not at the moment.
I
Okay.
don't have any question, so
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. That's that. That's the for each loop, and I will be finishing that off here. I also spoke about one more thing in this section, that is Var Arcs, and I would like to talk about this. Var Arcs is basically a parameter that we can use in a method. For example, I'll tell you the reason why I'm preferring Var Arcs over here. So I'm creating a method, okay? I'll talk about the methods in later part of the course a lot, but for now, just try to see the structure of it. I say public. I say static. These keywords are absolutely new to you. I get that. We will talk about this later on. Public static void main, not main, but void add nums. Now, this is a method. Method is what? Why do I need a method? I need a method because I want to follow a principle. A principle in programming. It is not Java. It's not JavaScript. This principle is kind of valid for any programming language. That is, do not repeat yourself. Meaning what? Meaning you always have to think proactively to figure out that the code that you're writing, is this code is a one-time statement or something that I can use in future? Or do you foresee that there is a requirement that I can be using this piece of statement or statements in future? If it is, then I wouldn't put it, alone in the whole file. I will be somehow wrapping it up within a method, and I will create a small block of it, which I can call whenever I want. Whenever I want. For example, you have a file, and in this file, Java file, right? Some Java file, .java file. And in this file, you have a requirement to add numbers. In this entire file, you have multiple times you have a requirement to add numbers. So you have a requirement over here, you have another requirement over here to add another number. You have another guy over here, add number. Now, do you really want to go ahead and add the same statement of adding numbers multiple times in 3 different places? That is a repetitive code. You don't want to do that. Rather, what you want to do, you want to create a method called as add public void add. And then this method is going to contain the statement for adding. For example, int A, int B, and then just add it. Sys out, add it, A plus B. Right? So now this guy is there to add numbers. Now, whenever you have a requirement to add numbers, you just call this guy with the simple method call. That's how whatever the method name is, and then add a bracket. That's how you just call the method. A number of times you call the method. That is how you are not repeating your code. And that's the right way of doing it. This is called a method. You're trying to follow the principle called as do not repeat yourself. So that's the whole ball game. I'll talk about methods in much more details later on. But for now, I have a simple method over here called add nums, and the requirement is this. The requirement is that I need to get into a level where I can add n number of data. I mean, I can if I wish, I can just simply add in two different values, or I can add 20 different values. I don't mind, but I need to create a method in a way where it is flexible to accept n number of parameters, and I can add them. So how do you add a parameter to the method? You see, in this particular section, the one that I'm drawing here, in this particular section, you see, I am always going to add a plus b. I don't have a possibility to add a plus b plus c plus d. I don't have the possibility. So this method is there, but it's kind of an incomplete method. It doesn't really do what I wanted to do. I mean, it cannot give me the flexibility. So I need to figure out a way to make it flexible, meaning whatever the numbers I want to add, maybe it's a 10 number or 20 numbers, I still should be able to add them. And how can I do it? Okay, there is something called as method overloading. I'll get into that later, but for now, I can give you a simple solution, meaning in this method, I can add in a parameter. A parameter is something that goes in within this two bracket, and I'll say int, I'll say dot dot dot. It's a particular syntax you have to remember. Int dot 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 nums. So I am creating, oh, come on. Nums. Another dot, please. Why it is adding is? Right. Int dot 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 nums. What exactly is this guy? This is a Var Args parameter. Var Args parameter. A parameter that I'm sending within the method. A parameter that I'm sending within the method. This Var Args parameter, how it is going to help me? This guy is a unique parameter. This can help me to accept n number of variables inside the method. Meaning I can go ahead and I can write something like this. I can say int a comma int b comma int c. And I can add these three guys within this method. That's fine. But still I'm stuck with this three parameters, right? I cannot go beyond this. If I want to give if I want to add another parameter, then I have to add it here again, int c, in an offline mode. I'll be doing this in an offline mode, but not at runtime, meaning I cannot have a flexible solution where I can add n number of parameter as I wish. So if I want to avoid this, then I'll go for this option here called Var Args, where I am now able to access n number of variables. Okay, what is the idea? I will to add the number. So let me see, how can I call them? How can I call this method? I can call the method right here from the main method. I'll say add nums. And within this bracket, I can just pass on n number of parameters, n number of numbers, meaning 12, 34, 45, 67, 89, 90, 76, whatever. I can just pass on n number of variable just by adding one single section over here called as int nums. There are a few rules that you have to understand. In a method, you can have only one Var Args parameter, only one. I'll just mention it here, only one Var Args parameter can be added. Only one, right? Also, you have to remember this Var Args parameter should be the last parameter in this method, meaning I can add something like this. I can say string name colon comma this guy. So I'm adding two different parameter here. One is a name and one is a nums, which is a variable, Var Args. However, I cannot do this. I cannot say comma string names. I cannot do that. I'll get an error right there saying what? Saying the variable argument type of int method add number must be the last parameter. It has to be the last. These are simple rules that you have to understand. Okay, that's good. I'll remove this section. That's all. Now I say int nums, and now how do I add multiple values? So what I'll do is I just simply create a variable here. I say int result equals 0. I'll just create an integer variable called result equals 0, and within this result equals 0, I'll just use a simple for each loop. So this guy is basically a number array. It is nothing but a number array, and if it's a number array, then I can say int num colon result. Sorry, nums. That's great. So I just said that, meaning I want to loop around whatever the value comes in over here. I want to loop around as long as I exhaust the whole set. That's good. Now what's the idea? The idea is simple. I'll say result equals result plus num. What do I mean by this? Look at the understanding. I start the loop with the value of 0. So meaning at the very beginning, when the loop starts, the value of result will be 0, and the value of num will be the first element of the array, which is 12. That's good. And that value goes to the value result. So the total value of result is 12. That's good. In the next instance, the next iteration, the result is already having the value that is 12, and the next element is having the value 34. 34 plus 12, which is 46. That goes to the result. And this keeps on happening over and over again until it hits the last number in the array. Once I hit the last number in the array will stop, the loop will stop, and you get the summation of the complete number. So at the very end, out of the for loop, I just want to say sys out, clear my drawing, sys out, I just say sum, I just say plus result. How about that? And if I do it, then that's it. If I do it, that's it. It gives me the entire result. So I just say again, run this, and I get the value right here saying 413. And this is a dynamic program now because it can run with n number of parameters that I want to supply here. One robust program. Make sense, everybody?
Yeah. So is this very often used during automation?
It is used in automation. Yeah, why not? It's not about automation. It's a generic programming. You can have a situation like this where you have to deal with Var Args.
Okay.
See, the problem is, Anisha, a problem can be solved in many ways. It's exactly like maths, right? So the problem that I'm trying to overcome, I can do it in this way, the way I'm just saying, or I can go with a stupid way where I can add multiple different add number methods, and they will be allowed to take up parameters, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, and then you add them. Okay, which is a stupid way of doing it, but it will work. So you have to just understand what is the best way of exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it can be definitely used, just not in automation, but see, the point is this, right? When we're talking about automation, Selenium WebDriver, the library that we will be working on, it will just give me only one option, that is how to interact with the web components. But other than that, everything else is an automation. It's a program. For example, it is asked to you, the test case is there to validate that, to somehow get the summation of all the prices coming in the first page and just match it up with something in another screen. So you will have to use Selenium. So for example, I'm just trying to put it in the image. So you have a page. In this page, you have like pricing showing up, multiple pricing showing up. in the whole page. That's fine. So the validation is something like this that you want to do. You want to go to this particular page, extract all these values. So what will you do is you will use Selenium to go to the page and extract all these values. Now you have to understand, when you extract these values will be in the string format because you are extracting the value. Maybe the value is shown to you in the screen as say euro 22 or 24, whatever, or maybe another guy here, 345, whatever, right? Now this guy is coming to you when you are extracting them using Selenium WebDriver. It is coming to you as a string. It is coming to you as a string. Now this much is done by Selenium WebDriver for you, meaning to open the page, to extract the value out of the page is done via Selenium WebDriver, which is perfectly fine. But then the next thing comes into your programming understanding that is purely Java. There is nothing else here. Selenium is not going to help you here. Meaning what you have to do, you have to first and foremost figure it out. So the test case is take up all the values, add them, and then verify it with another screen. In the other screen, you have a total, something like that. So what can you do? So this is coming to you as a string. What can you do? You have to first and foremost figure it out. How can you convert this guy to a number? Because you cannot add a string to a string. You have to convert this to a number. That is all Java, right? You have to first and foremost remove this guy, euro. Take out the first guy, which is the euro. Okay? Remove this guy, euro. Multiple ways you can do that. Very, very simple stuff. You remove this. You are left out with 224. It is still a string. How can you convert the string to an integer? You have to use something called as parsing. Parsing. What do you do with that? You just say something like this. You have something called as integer. Integer dot parseInt. ParseInt. There's a method called parseInt. And within the parseInt method, you pass on the string. The string is 224, for example. And this gets converted to an integer. So you just stored this to a variable, to a variable called as int num, maybe, right? And if we just do that, then the value 224 will be stored to a num variable. And then you keep on doing it for all the numbers that you have stored, add them, store it in a number, go to the other page. In the other page also there is a summation, there is the total value. It is also in the string. Take it out, remove the currency, convert that guy to integer and match it. Is that making sense? Selenium can give you can say 40%, but rest 60% is your Java programming. It's all about programming. Am I clear with this small example? You will see it more and more often later on.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Good. All right, so that's the end of the week 1 ideally, where I just finished it off, and I have given you guys the solution already. I would like to know how many of you have seen the solution. Its solution is always will be always posted right here in the Google Drive. My drive. Okay, assignments. And here I have added my solutions, assignment solutions. Right here, week 1 solutions. You can download it and you can see the difference between whatever you have done and the way I have done it. And that will give you a very good understanding. I would like to know how many of you have seen the solution and do you have any doubt for me, because I can clear that up right now.
Suvik, in the first class, assignment number 8, you use something called printf. Could you explain what the syntax of printf is?
Printf. Let me just try that. Yeah. I will just check. You were saying about which class, sorry?
the first class assignment 8.
V1,
V2.
V2 assignment 8, this guy, yeah. I cannot down. Oh, this is a dot class file.
You're in the bin folder.
Oh, my bad, yeah,
Yep.
the bin folder. Week 1. Why it is showing the bin folder to me? Oh, sorry, here. Week 1 and he's the guy. Okay, yeah. Right. This printf is basically allowing me to add in multiple different variables with a comma over here. Do you see that?
Yeah.
So you can add multiple different parameters in the print statement. We use something called as println earlier, where I'm just printing a line. 1 minute. Printf in Java, printf Java. Yeah, I used it today. Yeah, following a printf method here, it just allows you to add in multiple different arguments to it. One is the normal string, and then you can use printf, nothing but is basically creating a format for you, So format and arguments in whatever the format you want to print. So for example, if you look at this particular program over here,
this we used to a lot during C programming.
yes.
Yeah.
So you see this percentile D, it gets replaced by the var1 and var2. It's kind of you are kind of formatting it. That's why if you print this guy, so if I just say, if I copy this guy and take it to my code base, where is my Eclipse here? So if I just go in here and I just say, okay. And if I just run this guy, so int var1, whatever, this guy just gives a formatting to my printout statement. So for example, I'll put a breakpoint here, or maybe, yeah, here. And I just say debug as simple Java program. So I say if, obviously, because they are not two, they're not, var1 is not equals to var2, which is why I'll just probably come in here then. Here, you see, it printed the value, printed the statement as 99 is not equals to 27, 99 is greater than 27, 99 is greater than equals to 27. So all these three different statement got accessed because the conditions were checked over here. And then I printed, when I printed them out, I use a percentile D. So this percentile D gets replaced by the first parameter, percentile D gets replaced by the second parameter, and that's how the value is printed to you in this format. So printf is basically for formatting your output. Clear?
Okay. And the D is
for number. This for number
Okay.
here, exactly. D is basically a regular expression, you can say, using which you can access numbers.
Okay, perfect.
Good. All right, so that's that. Now what I'll do is I will hit back to, if you have a problem with the assignment number, week number 2, week number 1 assignments, please let me know. I can give you the answer there. And let me quickly just see one thing. That is right, Agatha, you're right with that. Okay, Kevin just left. No, she is back. What else we're talking about? We're talking about week number 2. Here. So let's go to the week number 2. Okay. How to create Java class and objects, memory allocation introducing Selenium, Devtools, perfectly fine. Let's go on with this. Okay. So let's see about Java class. This is a very, very important topic. Again, we have to understand what is a class in Java. Classes are the building blocks of entire Java program. We have to understand this very well. So let's go on.
Sorry, I'll be back in a second. Thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. What is it? Okay, guys, sorry, my bad. Let's give it a break. I remember Shoaib told me last week to give a break because Anisha said that she's coming back. So let me give a break of 5 minutes. Is that okay? And then we'll come back and start from here. Is that okay?
Thank you, Souvik.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye. I'll come back.
I need a coffee.
All right, so we are getting started with class. Ask me as much as questions you have in mind, because this portion needs to be crystal clear to everybody. Okay, so ask me as many questions that you have in your mind. Okay, these are the building blocks. Don't be shy. No question is a simple question. Nothing is stupid. You're getting started for the first time, so I don't really mind answering any questions that you have in your mind. All right, what I'm trying to say here is very simple. That is, a class is nothing but a blueprint. When you are trying to work on a program, you have to first and foremost figure it out that how you want to really lay out your blueprint. So you have a requirement. You have a requirement to create multiple different, say, students. You have a requirement to create multiple different students. How will you do it? There are a few ways that you can think of. Number one is you can create the student information as like, you can create an array. You can create an array of information. And in that array, you can say, I want to give something like this, maybe. Let me just try to put it here. So let me just go and talk about a new class and test Java class, right? So for example, the requirement is store multiple, yeah, go on.
So are you printing something on any screen, because we are just
yeah. Can you see now?
Yeah, we can see.
Okay. So for example, by the way, I was showing you the class diagram there, just there. Okay. So I was saying class is a blueprint, right? So the requirement is, so I've just come to this particular section again, but the requirement is store multiple data set for students. Now, what can you do? You can do something like this. Okay, you can create a student data store with the help of an array, because we know array can help me to create multiple different values. I mean, to store multiple different values under one single entity. So I can say string. I can say students, and we can do a very weird solution, which is string of arrays. Sorry, and I can say something like this equals to, in the brackets, I can give a string. I can give multiple string, and I can do something like this, where I can say we can divide the student information in 3 different format or 3 different data sets, subsets: name, age, and maybe class number. Correct? I want to sort them. So I can do it in a weird situation, something like this. I can say the name, for example, Souvik, age, say 35, 36, whatever. I'm gonna say the location or class number. So I'm belonging to class A. Another guy here, Kevin, 40, class B. Sohav, or I can do one thing actually without, let's give the spaces for now. That's fine. I'll say Sohav, say 35, say class C. Let's say Avril, say 30, say class D or class A. Okay. I'm just putting them all together here. Every one of them here. It's an array. That's fine. I have some names. I have some age and class names. That's good. How can I print them, or how can I access them individually? They are one single entity where it is just a string, and the string I'm giving some numbers or some values. That's fine. How can I access them separately? Meaning, how can I extract only the name, only the class, only the age, and only the class A? How can I do it? Right? I can do it something like this. I can obviously go ahead and work with a for each loop, right? I'll say for, I say, it's a very weird solution I'm giving you, but that's, I have to give that to you anyways, because to make you understand of the benefit of using a class, I say students. I'm also going to introduce you to another property of string, and that property is called as split property. Okay, so with this particular structure, I can go and say I want to access each and every student one at a time. I want to print out each and every value separately, and I can do some kind of a programming on top of that. So for example, I can say name sysout name. Now, how do I get the name out of this whole string? There is a function that I can use called a split. So I can say student is a variable that is storing one value at a time. I showed you the diagram last time where I said that every time the iteration runs one at a time, the value will be picked. So first I will be picked, then Kevin, then Shoaib, and then Avril, right? That's how it will happen. Okay, so it is running. I am getting the student. Now the student is having this full string over here. I would like to extract only the Savik. How can I do it? I can do it something like this. I can say dot split. So I'm splitting. Splitting with what? I'm splitting with a delimiter. What is a delimiter in this case? A white space. To make it more robust, I can add actual hyphen here, which will make it even better for me. You can by mistake you can add one or two spaces and you wouldn't know. So rather just give a hyphen here. That makes more robust then, right? So I'll just give hyphens here. That's fine, right? Good stuff. So I'm going to split it with a hyphen. Now the point is this function, the split function, is a excellent function that really helps me to split a string and convert that entire split into an array. You understand? Meaning, if I split Savik, if I split this line, Savik 36 class A, if I say this, right? I get the value after splitting. I can split them in 3 different indexes of an array, meaning Savik will be separate, 36 will be separate, and class
class
A
A
will
will
be
separate.
separate. So
Mhm.
meaning, and when it's separate, it is separate, I understand, but where do you store them? It is basically stored in a temporary array, right? It is stored in a temporary array. That's how a split function works. So which means that if I want to access the name property of it, I go and I say split of index 0, because the first guy is my name. And for all the strings that I have here, for every one of them, the first guy is the string, that is the name. So I get the 0, that's perfect, that's my name. Similarly, I go and I just say this, name, age, and class. Just change the indexes accordingly, 1 and 2. And then I can, once I'm done with that, now I can do some kind of a if else if I want to, that, if somebody is beyond age 30, they can be transferred to class A or something like that. I don't know, I'm just thinking. So for example, the requirement is that whoever is above 35, they will be transferred to class A. Whoever is below 35, they will be transferred to class C, something like that. Okay, so I'm just
Okay, you're
making, yeah, go on.
yeah. So you're just giving a general example to write the loop, right?
Yeah, I'm just giving,
Okay.
I'm not talking about class yet. I'm just telling
Mhm.
you a very simple situation that if I want to hold multiple different values of a particular entity, the entity here is students. How can I do it? This is a very, very weird solution I'm giving you. And I'm telling you the problem behind it, that this is not how it should be done. So, okay, there are multiple simple ways to do it. And that's what we'll be learning in terms of classes. So I'm just going to clear this out. And if I just print them out now, you see, I'm printing them out and not this, sorry, I have to run this program. Okay, and you see, I get them equally splitted into 3 different sections, right? For all the entities here. And once I have these guys separate, then what can I do? I can do something. I can simply change the information. I can say, anybody who is below 35, they go to class C. Anybody is above 35 or 35, they go to class A, something like that. I can do anything within the loop and I can then change it, right? So my main motive to show you the simple, stupid program or the weird program is basically to show you that there is a way to hold multiple values inside one single entity, but that is not what is in practice, because you have additional too many problems here. You are dealing with a loop, you are dealing with a splitting mechanism. That is not how it can be used or how it should be working. I mean, you should create a much generic way of making things up for yourself. Meaning what? Meaning I can easily create an entity called as students, a blueprint, meaning students, right? I'm not choosing any main method here. I'm just creating simple students. Done with that. Okay. Now, as soon as I have this class called students, you have to understand that you are creating a class, meaning you're creating a type. Class in the Java world, you're saying it's a type. So I'm creating an entity of type students, and it's a type students if I put the property of a student, meaning I can give the information over here as, I will not say property, but attribute. The attribute of a student, meaning I can give public string name. You see, I'm just giving a name attribute to the student type. It's a class. You can say it's a category class or a type class. It's a student, all right? And then I say public age. So I just give exactly the age I want to store. So I don't have to deal with all those conversion, type conversion and everything. So here you can see the age is 36. Oh my God. So I have to convert this to integer now to work with it? No, I don't want to do that. I can simply make it simple by giving the exact same integer type. So I say int, I say age, perfectly fine. And then I say public string again, where I just say my class name. So class name. These three are my attributes. Attributes of the student's class. Perfectly fine. Now the students is having attributes. That's great. Students can also have a property. Property meaning public. I'll just say property here. Property. Okay. And say, I'm going to say a method public void. Maybe I can just give the property as start and stop the class. Simple. Okay. Start class and end class. Start class and end class. Public void. They can have many properties, but I'm just giving an example. End class. They're coming to the school, they want to start the class and they want to end the class. That's perfectly fine. And I'm going to say sysout. In this property, I'm going to access the attributes and I can say I'm starting the class and stopping the class. So I say student name plus name. You see no splitting, nothing. I just say name and I say age age just building the string in a particular format and that's it. And I'm just saying starting
Start time.
start time, starting the class, something like that. Okay. And the same stuff goes in here with the end class, ending the class, ending the class. That's it. So in a class that is a student type of class, I have attributes and I have property. This is a generic blueprint. Now from this blueprint that I have created, now I'm allowed to create a number of students. Nobody is stopping me. I can create the students with the right data type that I have chosen and I can work with it. Okay, I can add n number of students. I'm getting some questions, just, okay, nothing. Okay, so now that I have this, what I do is I will just go ahead and I'll say new class. And here I'll just say, so you see, this is a blueprint that you created. Now in this blueprint, you are not going to create the actual student object. You have created a blueprint. Now out of this blueprint, from this blueprint, you will be creating objects or instances, right? So I'm going to say test students. Now this guy is the guy where I am creating a student. I'm trying to test the student blueprint that I created. So I'm just going to say public void main. So I just checked out the main method here. I say finish. And now I have a main method because I need the main method anyways, because I have to kick off my Java program. Without a main method, I cannot kick off my Java program at all, right? So now I have a main method. I also have a student's blueprint. And now my motive is to creating multiple students, right? How do I do that? I just simply say students, okay? Let's give the name of the student's object as Sovic. New, the syntax is new students. And I'll tell you, we have to learn a lot on this. So let's keep it simple. So I just say, I'm just creating an instance of students, Sovic. That's great. I'm going to create another 4 guys here. I'll say
For
Kevin.
instance,
I'll say Avril. I'll say show if. I created 4 of them, right? Now, these guys are simple instances, okay? Creating student objects. We are creating students objects. Now, what exactly is objects? What's happening here is whenever I'm writing this piece of statement equals new students, if you have if you have watched my video earlier, I have spoken about 2 different sections in the Java virtual memory. One is basically, guys, you're not in mute. Just a minute. Sorry about that. Anisha, you're not in mute, so okay. So you have 2 different memory types. One is heap memory and a stack memory. I have explained this to you in the previous class videos. If you have seen, there's a stack memory, and then there's a heap memory. So heap memory is the memory where you keep a track of all these objects that are being created. Now, in this heap memory, we are creating multiple different sections for different objects that we created out of, or in the whole Java project that you're working on. When you're running it in the heap memory, it is storing all these live objects. So these objects are named, obviously, as I am showing you here: Savik, Avril, Kevin, Shoaib, right? So these are all different objects residing under heap memory. How many ever classes you are working, as soon as you're creating an object of that particular class, an instance of the particular class, for each and every instance, you are creating a memory block in the heap memory section. When you're creating that heap memory block, when you're having that heap memory block, and when you're having all these values or these objects inside it, you have to understand that each and every object is having its own small world. In its own small world, whatever the data that you have stored right now in all these 4 objects is going to be confined within its own memory space, and no one is talking to each other. No object is having any impression on the other object. They're all having its own small world. Okay. Now, in this situation, you just have figured out a way to separate out your data sets. They have no impact on each other. Perfectly fine. That's what we want. We don't want another data to be sitting on another data. We don't want that. We don't want Savik information to be matched up with Kevin's data. I don't want that. Okay. I want every individual components, and I achieve that by simply creating an instance of students class. Now, right at this moment, I don't have any data provided to the objects. They have no value at all. How can I prove that? I can simply prove that by, again, debugging. Everything boils down to debugging, guys. Don't be shy of debugging. Don't be scared of debugging. That's the bread and butter for programmers. So please see this. I'll just put a breakpoint right here, line number 11, and I want to inspect what is happening in line number 9. So let's go and just say debug as Java application, and let's debug. And I'm stopping in line number 11. Right at this moment, I'm going to hover my mouse on the object Savik, and let's see what I have. I have these 3 attributes showing up with some default values. Age is an integer, so I have the value as 0. However, class name and name is a string variable, so by default, the string variable will have the value as null. Correct? And that is what is shown to me right at this moment. I can go to any objects in this whole class right now, and every one of them will give me the same information because I have not stored any specific value for any one of them. I have not done that, right? This is what exactly is happening. Okay, now I have to go one step further and give the right value. At this moment, right at this moment, everybody is having same value. Now I want to show you something. By the way, you just see everybody is having the same value. Age is 0, class name null, every one of them. So if every one of them is having the same value, the question comes, are they same? Can I say Souvik equals Kevin? Can I say that? Because they have the same value. Can I say that? Let's try. I'll just say watch, and I am Souvik. I get the Souvik here. I'll just take out these two guys because they are not needed here. In the watch section, I'll just say Souvik. How do I know if they are equal to Kevin? I can use a method called as dot equals. So I use a method called dot equals, and in the bracket, you give what you want to make, equate it to. So I just want to say if Souvik is equals to Kevin, enter, I get the value as false. Why do I get the value as false? The values inside it is same. Why you get the value as false? So it doesn't matter whether the values are same or not. The point is, Souvik and Kevin is different because they are residing in two different locations. It's same with Avril and Shoaib. They're all in different positions, so they are not same. On the other hand, if I do this, right at this moment, if I say this, if I say Souvik equals to Kevin. So whatever is Souvik right now, it is going to be overridden by Kevin. And if I run this program, obviously nothing shows up in the console. That's good. However, if I again run the program saying Souvik dot equals Kevin, I get the value as true, guys. How? Because the space that Souvik was once occupying, that space is not there anymore. So you can say both Kevin and Souvik is pointing to the same location in the memory. So whatever the spot that Souvik was once in a time, occupying, that space is gone. Where exactly it is gone? It is gone to something called as garbage collector in Java. So garbage collector is a program that runs in the background. You don't have to do anything with that. In C, you have to handle it, using certain methods to forcefully call the garbage collector to exactly solve this problem, right? But in Java, that's not the case. Garbage collector in Java automatically kicks in, and whenever it sees that there is any unclaimed space, it just simply clears it out. Okay, so that space can be reused again by another instance. Correct? That's how the Java program is working. Now, whatever I just said in last 15-20 minutes, is it making sense? I've not added the data yet, but whatever I just said so far, is it making sense to everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah. What happens, Kevin, in this scenario where you've just put Souvik in that memory location?
No, Kevin is there. Kevin is still there.
Still there.
So yes, Kevin will be still there. There is no problem with the Kevin. Souvik, the spot that Souvik was occupying is not there anymore. So Souvik is now pointing to Kevin. That's it.
Okay.
So Souvik's spot is gone because Souvik object is now pointing to the Kevin object, and Kevin is obviously there in the Kevin space. So there is no problem.
Hi, Souvik, Shoaib here. Could you just repeat the split option again, please? The split functionality which you've used in the other ones. I have got a question for that. If you can just switch over your screen, please, to that program.
Okay, I'll go there. But whatever I just said in terms of Java, I mean, in terms of class and object, is it making sense? Sure.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so when I'm saying new students, you are creating an instance of the students with a particular name here, correct? You understand that much, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, I'll switch back to the section where I spoke about. Okay, here, go on, please.
Yeah. Over here, you've added the hyphen between your name and your age and your class name. And you've added student.split and you've put a hyphen there.
Yeah.
What would happen if you don't add the hyphen in when you declaring the arrays? How will it differentiate?
No. If you don't know, that's what, right? That's what I said. So initially I was just giving a space here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Initially I was giving a space here. So in this case of a space, you can go ahead and use the space as a delimiter. You can.
Okay.
But
okay.
it could be a typo from your side, and then you added multiple spaces, for example.
Okay.
If you add multiple spaces, then it will not work. So to avoid that situation only, I added a hyphen for each and every string, for each and every value there to work as a delimiter, right?
Okay. This becomes more for differentiation purpose. You just explained that. Okay.
Yes.
All
I'm
right,
just trying to
got it,
show
got
you
it.
the difference between how to like work it out without a class and with a class. Without a class, there are issues. Like, you know, all these delimiter situations, you have to use arrays, you have to use loops and so many stuff. And you have to just add a huge array if you want to really work out with multiple information. But in case of class and object situation, things are much more light. You just create a student where you just give a blueprint with attributes and with properties. And then you just say, I want to start as a student, and I am creating n number of students. Nobody's stopping you from creating n number of students. And then you just can use your attributes. So here I want to use my attributes. I just say Sovic dot name, and I give the name as Sovic. And I just say Sovic dot age, and I give the age as 35. And if I give Sovic dot class name, and I give the class name as class A, right? And accordingly, you can just fill in the information for every other object in the whole student's case. And then once you are done with that, let me actually quickly do it for others as well, so that we can get to the level properly. Okay, so I just say Kevin, name is Kevin, age 40, class name class B, arrow, uh, 30, class name C, Shoav, age 30. Okay, and class A. That's good. So now I have everybody with different, obviously memory is different, memory location is different. Also the values are different. That's great. Now, once I have that in place, now I can go ahead and I can use my attributes. I mean, my properties. I've used my attributes. How do I use my attributes, guys? You saw that I'm able to use my attributes with the help of the dot operator. Okay, with the help of the dot operator, I'm able to use my attributes. That's great. And then I can fill in the values. That's good. And now I can go ahead and I can say, I want to use my properties. So I say Sovic dot start class and Sovic dot end class. right? And that's the same thing that I'll do it for everyone. And that gives me the value for every other stuff. It's a very, very basic structure for your class and how to use the attribute and the properties. But obviously, guys, things will not be as simple as this. I'm just trying to show you how can you create a simple class and access its attributes and properties with a dot operator. And that's pretty much about it. And I just want to run this piece now. And you can see that I am getting the value for every one of them. I get the name, I get the age, I get the, I mean, you can see that the property was called properly. Okay, so that is exactly what I have mentioned here as well. Here I have just given you an example with a car. In the car, I just said there's a brand, model, engine size, and sitting capacity, and I can create n number of cars out of it. Okay, and they are having different values, and that's how they are. They're different because they have different values. That's number one. Second thing, they are also different because they're different locations in the memory, right? How to create a class? Just by simply saying public class car, that creates a simple class. And always remember, when you create anything in Java, you always have to remember of something, and that is called a scope. What is a scope? The scope is nothing but this guy and this guy. So you're just saying that this is my scope of my program or of my class. This is my scope, correct? So public class car, and this is my scope. And within the scope, I can provide my program or the information that I want to process. Okay, so you can see that the methods are having its own scope. We will learn other stuff in the class that we want to keep in. For example, we want to keep something like constructors. So we'll talk about constructors later on, and then you'll see everything in Java world is having a scope. So that is that. Let's move on. What are different class members? Okay, there are two different type of class members that we have just seen right now. One is a variable, that is basically the attributes. One is the methods, that is basically the properties. Okay, and we have another thing called as constructors, and we'll talk about that in detail later on. Right? What is a class instance and how to create one? I just said. That's the class blueprint, and every one of them are instances. And you can create an instance with the help of a new keyword. I've just said how to do that. And as soon as you do it, you just create a simple space for your instance in the memory. How to access class member? I just said that you have to use dot properties, dot operator, to access the class members. Whether it is a property or attribute, you can access them with the help of a dot operator. That's that. Let's go on and understand the Java object memory management. I just explained that, how it works. I just said that there is a car over here called as Volkswagen, another car here called as Volkswagen, and another car called as Aston Martin. And you can see what did I do here? I just said car Volkswagen equals to new car. So you just see how did I explain this here. It's a little different. So I said car Volkswagen equals to new car. So I just said that. That's great. And again, I said Volkswagen equals new car. I said this very clearly that whenever you are simply executing this command, new car, as soon as you say that, immediately a block is getting created. That's why I'm giving the same color coding. This is purple, this is purple. That's great. And then using the same variable called Volkswagen, I'm creating another instance equals new car. So both of them is pointing to the same location where the Volkswagen instance was created. So first and foremost, this was created, which is in purple, and then the orange guy created. So obviously the purple guy is now no more there because this guy is now gone. So this new guy, the orange guy, is coming in the place. I mean, the variable Volkswagen is pointing to new car location, the orange location, right? And the blue location and the purple location is gone. Who will kick in here? Garbage collector will kick in here and remove this guy from the whole heap memory. Okay, and this guy Aston Martin is a separate guy. There's nothing to do with this guy. That's gone. Correct. So this is how exactly it works, and I just explained that. I have also spoken about the stack memory. In the stack memory, what happens? You just fill in your stack with the methods that are being executed. Okay, so you can see that it is basically using something called as a LIFO. LIFO means last in, first out. Okay, the method that is last called will be removed out of the memory or LIFO or the stack memory first. Okay, the method that will be last called or last in, I mean last getting executed, sorry, not last getting executed, but that the method that will be coming in the last in the stack will be executed first. Last in, first out. So here I have a method called as print car name. So you see I have a main method. Think about it. Very simple understanding. I have a main method. Where is it here? I have a main method. I have a main method. In the main method, I have a method called as print car. Print car. So think about it. Which method went into it first? The main method. In the stack memory, the main method went into it first. That's why it is in the very bottom. The second last method that went into it is the print. So it is last in and first out. Obviously, the print method will be first executed, and then the main method is executed from the main memory, from the stack memory perspective. That's why I have mentioned it accordingly. There is two memories blocks, a stack memory and a heap memory, and that's how it works. Is that clear to everyone? Yes, no? There's also a very important section to work with or to understand. Is that clear to everyone?
Yeah, yes, Vivek. Thank you.
Good. All right. Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next piece. What are the methods and its usage? Okay. So I have given you a generic understanding of methods. I told you that how to work with it, do not repeat yourself principle. How can we simply avoid do not repeat yourself situation with creating methods and then simply calling them n number of times. I've given you the example of Var Args, and I have told you how to use them, right? So that is basically your method and its usage. And let's go to the next one, understanding scope. Okay, what is the scope? Scope is nothing but, I just said, whatever is within this two particular section, this bracket and this bracket. Okay, that's the scope for the class. This guy is the scope for the class. Okay, and then it is a method called update seating capacity. This guy is the scope for the method, right? This guy is the scope for the method. Again, this method is also having its own scope. Whatever is having a separate, a separate starting and ending point, they have their own scope, right? Now, in terms of Java, you have to always remember something very, very well. There is something called as a global scope. What do I mean by that? Let me clear the section. What is meant by global scope? Meaning this particular section ideally. This particular section ideally.
The first section.
The first section, which is above all the methods, just right here.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you define here in this global scope can be accessible by all other participants in Java.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
However, if you declare something like this guy, int seat, this guy, it is a local scope guy. This guy cannot be accessed in any other method. This guy, seat number 1, seat equals 1, this variable is very much local to the method itself, downgrading seating capacity by 1. That's my local variable, and that cannot be accessed out of that method. So that's how the scoping works. But other attributes are very easily accessible to every other into every other methods. Correct? Everybody is okay with that? Yes, no?
Yep.
Got it.
Very good.
Yes, sorry.
Very good. Okay. Perfect. Okay. That's the end of that section there. Let me quickly go back to my class and learn about Devtools, Selenium configuration. That's great. Let's try to learn about this guy. Okay, so what do we have here? Okay, what is Selenium? I have told you very, I mean, if you look at the video, I've given a little bit of more information, but I want to keep it short. It is an open source browser automation tool. That means you can just perform web application automation. People ask me this question a lot, saying, my application is written in PHP or JavaScript. Can I create an automation framework that can interact with the application? Obviously, you can. It doesn't matter what is the language that you have used to implement your application. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, every application is built with 3 different components. Number 1 is obviously your HTML, which is the building block, meaning it will give you the structure of the web page. It is going to give you a simple layout of the web page that, okay, this is a web page. I have a input field here. I have a button over here. Okay, I have a table over here. It kind of gives you a very simple structure of your web page. A very simple structure, correct? And it doesn't give anything else. HTML is absolutely needed because it's kind of your building block. On top of that, what we need is CSS. CSS, what is that? It's cascading style sheet. What do I need that? Why do I need that? I need that to make it look beautiful. Okay, all the coloring scheme and everything that comes to you that makes your website look good is coming out of CSS. Okay, next you need something called as JavaScript. Why do you need that? Because when you are performing an action in the web page, something is happening. Okay, some kind of activity is happening. Suppose you are clicking on this particular button, and when you click on the button, this table loads in with some kind of an information, right? Who is doing that for you? JavaScript will do that for you. It will make the the application live, right? It will make the application do what it's supposed to do, right? So ideally, there are 3 different components that you need to use to build a web page.
Sorry, Souvik. You know,
Yeah.
in a very simple, in a short manner, can you just explain the difference in Java coding and JavaScript coding? Just in a very simple, just in a brief manner, please.
Okay, there are 2 different, the only keyword here is Java. That's the only thing that is common. JavaScript and Java is entirely different. I mean, the syntax is different, the way it works is different. It is not an object-oriented, it doesn't really follow object-oriented principles. You know, it has a different, it follows something called as, async or, asynchronous code. Is what is being prepared with JavaScript, meaning something that you can do it out of the box. So, for example, you want to, how can I say this? Just a second. So for example, you want to store some information in the database. Okay, you have a DB here. You want to store some information in the database. At the same point, you want to also extract the information from another database, right? It is basically two different interaction you're trying to perform at the same time. It's an asynchronous code that you're trying to create, right? This can also be achieved in Java with the help of threading. Threading is a advanced level Java concept. You can do that, but this can be very easily achieved with JavaScript. It is coming out of the box. You don't have to really use threads and everything. Okay, it comes out of the box. You can say this is one of the big difference between Java and JavaScript. The syntaxes are different. The way it works is different. We don't really use something called as a class in Java. Okay, there is something called as ES15. Okay, that is basically called as TypeScript. Using TypeScript, you can write your JavaScript code as if you will write it in Java, like adding class and objects and those kind of things. But it's a complicated situation. Sure, if I cannot really explain you in 5 minutes time, but I can tell you this, that JavaScript is entirely different than Java. And we basically use JavaScript to ideally make the web application live. And you can also say that the syntax is different. You don't really work with object-oriented principles there. You use asynchronous. You can create asynchronous code out of the box, which is not possible in Java out of the box. You have to use threading to do that. So that's how they are ideally different, But there are many other stuff. Once you start learning it, I have a plan to create a JavaScript code. I mean, same web application automation, but with JavaScript. I will be using something called as a framework called as Codecept.js. It's a very popular framework in current times. Codecept.js. So I have a plan to use that. There's another framework that is also used, but that's called as Protractor.
Yeah, I've seen these a lot in the job descriptions.
Yeah, Protractor. Protractor is also there, but it is ideally there for Angular-based applications. But yeah, I will definitely start to create something on this too once I have some time.
So it's completely a different programming language to Java. Just the name is common, as you said.
Yeah, Java. That's all it is. It's totally different. The way it works is totally different. Okay, cool. So what I'm saying is that is the three different building blocks ideally for an application. At the end of the day, you have to deal with HTMLs, and whether it is built on JavaScript, it's built on PHP, doesn't matter. You have to talk to the HTML components, and that's where Selenium comes in to just give you that option to talk to each and every HTML component.
So,
all right, yeah.
Souvik, when we'll be creating a framework for a particular project, so basically Selenium WebDriver comes into place where we'll be playing around most of the times.
Yes, and we'll be writing a Java-based framework that can talk to any application, if that is written in PHP or JavaScript or AngularJS or React, doesn't matter.
Whatever
it will still be working. At the end of the day, we are only going to use Selenium to interact with the components. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, so there are three different flavors of Selenium that we have seen. Ideally, we have one is Selenium Ide. Ide is nothing but a simple play and record tool, which is absolutely worthless. It doesn't really have anything. It can just give you a simple understanding of how automation works or how to look at the automation, but it cannot really perform all the advanced concepts or the one that you can do it with the help of Selenium WebDriver. It's not flexible at all. It's an add-on to Firefox, and that's pretty much about it. So I just don't want to even bother about it. Other two things that we will be covering in this course is WebDriver and Grid. Grid is something that we'll be covering at the very end because we are using Grid along with Docker, because the idea using Grid is basically to run our test cases in parallel mode in multiple different Docker containers. And we can see that all the test cases are getting triggered in the Docker container, and you can run your test cases out of it, right? So we will cover that at the very last, but WebDriver is the one that will be there with us for a long, long time. So WebDriver, now how does a WebDriver works? Well, WebDriver, so you can see at the very left end, we have test code, meaning this is your actual test case, the Java test case that you will be writing. At the very extreme right, we have the browser in which your test case will idly perform all the actions. That's good. But WebDriver is sitting in between as an intermediate server. What it is doing is it's basically opening up a REST API endpoint. Now, many of you guys will literally get scared of this keyword called as REST API. It's actually nothing. When we talk about REST API, we will talk about that a lot in details later on. But it is very simple stuff for now. I can tell you that it is basically a simple server. It is opened up for us. So you can say it's a server. Okay. The server is basically a REST server, ideally, REST server. There are multiple different types of APIs that we have. We have APIs like REST that represents a particular protocol. And then we also have another called as SOAP. If you just want to know a little bit about REST and SOAP, I would like to give you a simple article here called as REST API. Okay. It just performs this particular, what is REST API? You can just go into anything. RESTful API. So representational state transfer, that's the acronym for REST. Okay, it is a particular protocol that we use. Okay, the principle of REST is a client server architecture, stateless, cacheable, uniform interface, layered system, code on demand. You don't have to really understand all of these in details. We just have to understand one thing, that is how can we interact with REST APIs. And that is what we will be covering up in the REST API section when we hit that particular section down the line. So we will have to understand what are HTTP methods, what are different HTTP response code. Okay, we will be learning something called as HTTP methods. Okay.
You are speaking about get, post, put, and delete?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We will be talking about these guys here. Okay. Basically to perform CRUD operations. We will also understand about HTTP response codes. Response codes. Response.
200, 401.
Yeah. Response codes. There are multiple different response codes that we have. Status code. Okay. 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Right. We will talk about them. And ideally, we will create a framework that will help us to test the REST APIs. I can actually give you a quick, simple example of a REST API as well. I'll talk about this in details later on, but I'm going to show you something. I'll go to this particular API. It's called a pet store API. Okay, what is this? Let me give you some understanding because I just started this discussion. So let me just give you an understanding. So think about it that we have an application. You are a developer. You are asked to create an application. Application name is called Pet Store. Okay, meaning you have to create an application Pet Store, and the feature of this Pet Store application will be something like this: that when a person gets into the Pet Store application, they should see available pets in the Pet Store. That's number one. There should be a login. In the login, you can go in and you can buy a pet, or you can log in as an administrator. So log in as admin or simple user. I'm just writing some user stories, some use case, simple user. Third, you have a situation where as admin, you want to admin add pets or delete pets or create pets. Oh, sorry, add pet, delete pets, and update pets. Update pet information. So you can see these are my simple use case. Now, as an application, you want to perform all this operation. That's perfectly fine. You understand that I have to store some information somewhere to perform all this information, to perform all this operation. So obviously I need a database. It could be anything. So I'm just saying it's a database, maybe a MongoDB. Okay, a MongoDB. Perfectly fine. It's a MongoDB. That's great. And I have my pet store over here. That's great. I need to somehow talk to the MongoDB and get it done. So you have to understand something, that in a software development team, we have multiple different sections into it, right? One is the front end development.
That is the UI which we see when we log into application.
Yeah, the front end development. And then we have something called as a back end development.
That's the database.
Back end development, okay? Now, what is a front end? What is a back end? Front end is nothing but whatever we see in the screen when we log into the application. Whatever we see in the front end, that is our front end, and that can be implemented by JavaScript or PHP or whatever. Okay. Now, as a front end developer, you are somehow thinking about it. That suppose this is the first screen, right? When you come into the first screen, you are supposed to see a section which is like this. In this section, you have multiple different pets. A pet that is having an image, a name, a location, maybe a name, maybe the the category of it, or maybe the breed of it, right? You're seeing all these pictures over here. How do you pull this information as a front end guy? How do you pull the information? As a front end guy, your responsibility is to design the page, to design this table, and then figure it out. How can you talk to the DB? Because in the DB, obviously the data is there, right? And this data should be pulling the information for you, and that will be displayed in this section. So what you will be doing is you will be not talking to the database directly. You don't really want to break your head in writing some query to the database. You know that in any kind of in any database, you can use the query. Like if it's a SQL database, you just write a select statement, right? Select star from something. You know that. So you don't, as a front-end developer, you don't want to do that. What you want to do is you want to talk to a backend server. So in between, you have a backend server. This server is nothing but the web services, the pet store web service, pet store web service. I'm sorry, I'm sidetracking the conversation, but
this basically works as a middleware between two applications.
Yeah, you can say that, yes.
Yeah.
So now what happens is front end, and this front end now is going to simply perform a call. It will make a call. It will make a call to the web service. What call it will make? It will make a HTTP call. The call that it will make is called as a get call. Okay. It will make a get call saying, okay, I'm in the page and get me. So there's an API, for example. There's an API, for example, in this web services server, there's an API called get all available, get all available pets. Something like that, a method. A web services method. Now, this web services can be built in a different technology altogether. This guy is built on JavaScript, PHP, or HTML, CSS, whatever. This guy could be built on Express, JavaScript Express.js, or it can be built on Java Springboot. Springboot is also another type of a language or a framework that is used in order to build web services server. So I can use a server, a Springboot server, to host all these methods, get all available pets, or create pet, or delete pet, whatever, delete pet, right? So I can have all this information here, all these methods here. As a front-end developer, I will just simply be bothering about two things. Number one, to build the design of the application. Second, to talk to the right API. I am not going to break my head in terms of like talking to the database. The web services team will now be bothered to forward this request to the database, get the response, get the right response, and then give it back to the application. That's how it happens. Why am I saying all this? Because I wanted to give you a very simple understanding of what is a REST API, why REST APIs are needed. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, so basically this is the case where this our postman comes into picture where we can do our API testing, right?
Yeah, you can do that. And then we will not be doing, in the postman, we will be doing manual testing. And then we will be learning how to automate the entire framework using Rest Assured.
Rest Assured, okay, thank you.
Okay, good. So why I wanted to tell you all this? Because I wanted to give you a very simple understanding of what is a REST. How can it work? So now you can understand that we are performing some HTTP calls. Again, the same thing happens over here. So you can see this Swagger, this pet store, that documentation I have. You see there are different methods. There are some method called as post method. It is a HTTP method called, it's a post method. And the method is having pet ID. So you just give a pet, you call the method name called pet, and then you give a pet ID, and then the method you again called is called upload image. So you can upload an image to the database for this particular pet. Or you can just call add a new pet to the store. And when you're adding a new pet to the store, you're passing all the information through something called as a payload. I don't want to, sorry, I'm so sorry. I don't want to get into this. I love API, and I just you know, when I start talking, I just start talking like crazy into it. So let me just get back to what I am doing.
Sorry. Just if you go back to the page you were on, can I just quickly ask you one question before? So, you know, when they say parameter content type applications JSON, is that the middleware you were talking about? Is that what it is?
No, this is the payload type that we're talking about. We're trying to send a payload to the API. So what type of payload we are sending? We're sending a JSON type of payload.
Okay.
So
payload is basically, is it a language?
No. I don't want to get into it. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm sidetracking totally. Yeah. Because if I want to start talking about it, I'll take 1 hour or more than that to explain this. So.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. No problem.
That's fine. So just think about it for now. The WebDriver is a REST API. It is opening up a server like I showed you there. And then as a test case, you're performing a call, HTTP call. It could be a get call, a post call, whatever it is, get or post or whatever it is, right? Obviously, I'm thinking it's a post call. When I'm performing an action, it's a post call. So it's a post call, that's fine. And when I'm sending a post call, what exactly I'm doing? In the post call, I am actually sending some information to the server, okay? In a JSON wire protocol, by using JSON wire protocol. What exactly is this? Let me show you a JSON, first and foremost. A simple JSON, yeah, go on.
Yeah, so in Selenium also will be using this get post, these all methods, HTTP methods?
No, you don't use it. It is being used by the backend of WebDriver. I don't have to break my head on it. I mean, internally, that is what it is calling. But I don't have to really bother about it. Okay. We just have to simply perform .click, .send keys, and all these methods. But they are internally performing all these actions. So don't worry about that. Okay.
Okay.
So let's say JSON.
Okay.
Yeah, go on.
Sorry, that quick. The interaction between the say testing and the WebDriver is more or less what you say it's API testing. Am I right?
That is correct. Yes.
Okay.
We talk in very details. Yeah. When we are reaching the section when we talk about API testing, end-to-end API testing.
Okay.
And
Thank
so,
you.
just a quick question.
Go on.
So the JSON you were talking about now is all about going through an Ethernet cable outside of my house to whoever's backend I'm sending or getting or pushing to, yeah? But with this WebDriver, the API that Selenium sends is just sent to send the keys to my local front end, my local browser instance, isn't it? So when you say API testing, normally it's to the back end of someone else's database, but within Selenium, it's just to my local browser.
Yes. So see, the point is this, right? You have to understand something. You have two entities. You have two entities. It doesn't matter whether it's within your house or somewhere else. You have two different entities. You want to talk to each other over HTTP. And you are passing the information from one end to the other end, whether it is within your network or outside of the outside network, doesn't matter. When you're trying to talk to these two entities, you are using JSON wire protocol, where you're supplying some information from one entity to the other entity. And how are you supplying the information? You're supplying the information because there is a REST in here, sitting and waiting to listen to your request. So you're sending some information to the REST server. REST server is getting forwarded to the other entity. In this section, I'm talking about, and from Selenium perspective, this guy is my test code. This is my REST server. And this is my browser. There are two different entities and you are trying to talk to each other. That's it.
Yeah.
When you are instantiating this code, Chrome driver, Chrome driver equals new Chrome driver. When you say that, new Chrome driver, when you say that, what's happening? You are instantiating a REST server that will be instantiated, and that guy will be active as long as you're not shutting down with the command driver.quit. You shut it down, driver.quit, it kills it, that's done. But until and unless between where you are instantiating and quitting, whatever the statements that you are processing, what are you doing? You are doing nothing but sending some instruction to the REST server from your test code, and REST server is then processing further to the browser. How are you sending information? You're sending it with JSON payload. JSON payload is basically a simple data structure, you can say, using which you are passing some information. For example, I'll just show you how it looks like. So say JSON and say images, and look at the JSON, for example. That's a JSON structure. You see, it's a complicated JSON structure. You can see something. Basically, if you look at it closely, it's nothing but a key value pair, and nothing more than that. But it has a proper structure that you have to follow and understand. So just see this. Where is my drawing? So here you can see it's a come on. Okay, so here is a key value pair. Okay, here again it's a key value pair, and now the key value pair that you see here, one is having a string, another having a number. That's great. And then you have a key value pair again, but this key value pair is of a object. So you see an object, and then there is a key value pair which is starting and stopping within a scope. So you see this section over here and this section over here, that is basically an object. When I'm saying object, you will learn more about object, or you will have much more understanding about object when we talk more in terms of Java classes. Like you saw today that we created an object of students, and I was able to pass on 3 different information as an attribute to the students. Similarly, I have an object. Okay, and inside that you can see it has passed on some information like var, and like an array, and like something called as more stuff. That's an object. So you can, so that's what. So it is a data set or data structure. JSON is a data structure that can store the data in terms of your key value pair. It can store string, number, anything. However, it can also store objects, right? This is basically how JSON looks like. We will talk about JSON in details when we hit the API testing section. That's where we will learn it even better. But for now, just try and understand that what you have to understand right now is this. That is, in this particular drawing, let me go back to my, okay, so undo. So in this particular drawing where I say I have a REST, I have a test, and I have a browser, the test is the test code. It is trying to interact, it's trying to send the commands to the browser via REST API server in between that gets triggered whenever you are instantiating the Chrome driver at the backend. That's what is happening. It's creating a REST server, REST API endpoint, and it's waiting for you to listen to commands. And then when you're sending when you're trying to interact with it, you're just saying, for example, you're trying to call a method saying .send keys, .send keys. And when you're sending .send keys, you are sending some instruction, meaning you want to perform a send keys on which particular object, which particular web element. Okay, and many other stuff. I don't know. I don't want to know. However, it is working. It's its own business. All we have to understand is the structure, how the JSON, how the test case is running. Test case is running because when we call the send keys method, it is firing up a HTTP request to the REST server. And once I hit the REST server, then the REST server will now take it forward to the browser. And then in the browser, that operation will be performed. Okay. And then the browser will send back the response code, whether it's a 200 response code or 400. If it's a 200 response code, meaning the operation was successful and my test code will know it accordingly. If my operation was successful, it's good. If not, then my test case will stop there. It will throw me within some exception. It will stop there. Or if it has done with the step, then it will go and execute the next step. And that is what exactly is happening. You're sending the information from the test code to the REST server using JSON, and which is why it is called as JSON wire protocol. If you look at this section, right here, correct? You have the JSON wire protocol that is basically helping you to transfer the information from the one end to the other end, right? Am I clear with this section? Yes, no?
Yes.
Everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. Perfect. Now let's understand the jar. Understanding jar. I have spoken about jar already last week. I will not be covering up again. So I'll just quickly take it forward. Installing and configuring Selenium to the project. Again, if you understand the last week live session, I have shown you how to import a jar to the project. Just simply go to the build path, Java build path, and add it. That's exactly what it will do. You just go to the Selenium dev, selenium.dev, and go to the section called as downloads. And this guy over here, the latest stable version, this is beta. We're not dealing with that right now. We're dealing with the stable version 3.1.1.4.1.5.9. Just download this, just one single jar. You got to add that into your project, something like this. For example, over here, I'll go here as properties. I'll go and say Java build path. I click on this class path section. I say add external jars, and I add the jar that I'm interested in. So I think it's there in my C drive, drivers. What? Where did I keep you? One minute. Savik. Okay, where is my drivers? C drive. Drivers. Ah, I didn't keep that here. I kept it somewhere else maybe. Let me just check downloads. Selenium. No. Okay, I'm not sure. Let me quickly download this. Keep. Right? So that will download the Selenium jar file for me. How long do you want to take for the scanning? Show in folder. Not yet downloaded.
So can you send us this URL, please?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Can you send us this URL?
Yes, it's there in the document itself here.
Okay. Sorry.
Here, you see selenium.dev. Selenium.dev. Go to the URL.
And then we can go to stable
and
version.
then go to the downloads, and then latest stable version. Just download this guy. That's it.
Okay, Jake.
Okay. Oh my God, why is it taking so much time for me? Oh, it's done now. Good.
Souvik, but that's
yeah.
a Selenium server grid. Is that okay?
That's the only one. That's the only one that you got to use. That is having the capabilities for grid as well, and your Selenium as well. So everything is packed in one jar. Okay. Because we are covering grid, so I will be obviously using this one. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Good. So now that is that. And what do? Is I just simply come in here and no.
It should be in the downloads.
Yeah, no, it's in the downloads. I just put it in my drivers location ideally. C drive, drivers. Yeah. I'll just put it just there.
Oh, these
Good.
things need to be pasted in drivers.
Yeah, I'm just putting it in the drivers. You can keep it anywhere. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just gonna add it here and say properties and say, let's go and add the class path, add external jars. And I just say C drive, I say dev work. And I say
drivers and Selenium.
No, wait a minute. It's in C drive, drivers, this guy. That's added, apply and close, and that's it, right? That's your simple configuration for your jar file. Once you have it here, I told you how yesterday in last class, that once you add your jar file into your class, then you are opening up the entire world of Selenium WebDriver in front of you, because now you can go ahead and write anything in terms of Selenium. So just go and say package, say Selenium test, and say finish. And then I just say new class. I say Selenium test again with a main method. And now all you got to do is just say Chrome driver equals new Chrome driver. Now I can access Chrome driver because of only one reason. You see right now I'm getting an import solution that import Chrome driver, because the Chrome driver class is already a part of the project because I added that into my Java build path. So I can now import it so that I can use it in my class right now. So you can see org openqa selenium chrome that comes from the Chrome, that comes from the Selenium package that I added right now. So you can see the Selenium reference libraries. That's the jar file that I added. If I open this up, it says org openqa selenium, right? So just go there. Org openqa selenium right there. No, that's great. Here, openqa selenium, expand this guy, and it has so many classes. Out of one of them will be Chrome, A, B, C, D. Am I in the right place? OpenQA Selenium. Where's my Chrome? Okay, sorry, it's a Chrome package. This is the package. I went till the Selenium. It is a Chrome package. You see, whatever is in lowercase, they are all packages, and then this is the class. So you should come to this guy, Chrome. That's my Chrome, and inside this Chrome driver class. So I have everything here in this whole huge list of packages that came to me with the one single import that I did, and that's it, right? So once I have this in here, now all I got to do is I just have to say driver.get. And when I do that, then I just say https wisdomqa.com. And if I run them, then I'm perfectly fine. So just go and say run as Java application. And immediately I will be thrown with an error. What is the error? It says the path to the driver executable must be set. I told you that in the video I have explained to you that you can definitely get to the Chrome driver class, that's fine. But to actually interact with the Chrome browser, you also need another entity in between beyond your REST API, and that is your browser specific driver that will help you launch the browser. Okay, so REST API is there to listen to the request from your test cases, that's fine. But then you need another entity that can interact with the actual browser component, and that is the driver. So each and every browser is having their own driver. So you have to set that information with the help of system dot set property. Okay, and here you can have to add the location of your driver. So just copy this section. So this is a property ideally, right? Webdriver.chrome.driver. This is the property. That property will be checked by this driver object, that in this property, do I have a path to the Chrome driver? So I will just give the path to the Chrome driver. Right now it is there in my C drive drivers, and then I have this location, which is Chrome driver. So always remember that there is always a situation that it will get in. That is, this scenario will fail if there is a mismatch between your browser version and the version of the Chrome driver that you have installed. So whatever the browser that you're using, the Chrome driver, the Chrome browser that you're using, just check the version up there, and also check the Chrome driver version that is downloaded from Selenium WebDriver. So where to download the Chrome driver? It's again the same page in Selenium Selenium.dev. You come in here, you just go down a little bit, and you have this section called as browsers, right? Open this section, and then here you have Chrome browser, okay? Click on the documentation, get into this page, and where you see the latest stable version is 89.043, whatever. Just look at your Chrome browser, if it is in the same guy or not. So I'm just looking at my Chrome. So in my Chrome, I just say help about Google Chrome, and it is saying 88. So let me just quickly update that. It's updating. It's updating to 89 something. Just let me wait for a minute. Okay, in the meantime, what I'll do is I will download the Chrome driver, right? There's a Chrome driver, so let me download that. You come to this page and then select the Chrome driver, Win32, and open this up, join folder. Okay, that's my That's my guy there. So I'll just simply replace it with whatever I have in my driver. This is the guy, right? So I will simply replace it with whatever I have in my C drive drivers, right? Just copy and paste and replace the file in the destination. That is done. Okay, it is in use. Yeah, I know why it's in use. It's saying that this guy is in use, right? So it's basically in use because I can go to my task manager and probably I can see that there is a Chrome driver instance running. So if you just look in here, Chrome, you see, oh my God, there are 3 of these guys. Sorry, Chrome. You see? Oh, no, I have many more. Chrome driver, there are so many instances running from previous run, right? So I just use I actually have built a simple batch command that can clear all my Chrome drivers, right? What I'll do is, where is my batch command here? Chrome kill. So let me just run this guy. And it clears my batch, all of them. What I will do is I will give this guy to you as well, so that you can run it whenever you have so many different Chrome drivers. You know, you have instantiated the Chrome driver, but you have not killed it. If that is the situation, then the Chrome driver will be like sticking there and it can create problem. I have also another batch file here that can delete all the temporary files. So I'm just going to give this 2 guys to you right now in the Slack channel so that you can use it. Yeah, it's sometimes it's quite handy. This is one guy. And this is another guy. Okay, let's send this. So you can use this, just double click on it and it'll do the job for you. It can, by the way, it's only for Windows that I have created. You can create the similar one for Mac as well if you want to. So that's pretty much about that. Now, you see, I have got my Chrome browser here. I hope my Chrome browser is also updated. Not sure, but can give a look. Okay. So help about Chrome. And yeah, I have it up to date. That is perfectly fine. I have my browser set. That's totally fine. Let's go ahead and kick off the execution. By the way, yeah, this is right. Let's go and kick off the execution. And as soon as I do that, what happens is the Chrome driver REST API will be kicked in, waiting for me to send in information. I'm getting a problem. And what's the problem, guys? Session not created. The Chrome driver version is having a problem again. Why? The Chrome driver only supports 87. Oh, obviously, because I didn't update that, right? Yeah. I wanted to update that. I didn't update that. That's why. C drive, drivers, and I'll go to my downloads, Chrome driver. That's the guy, and that should go here, correct? Drag and drop. Okay. Let's open another program. Just a minute.
Try closing Eclipse.
Yeah. No, maybe I'll try to kill this again. Just a second. Let's try again. Yeah, perfect. So that's done. Let's go back and run this. Chrome driver is starting up, and that's it. Okay. And the page loads. So this is basically a REST API kicked in there, and it's just waiting for my instruction. Whatever the send keys, whatever the information I send it to it, it will start working on top of that, right? So this is what I really wanted to cover up for today. There are a few more sections up there that I can discuss next weekend. So for example, in here, configuring this, that was easy. And then I spoke about things as a part of class 7 and 8. One is the understanding HTML basic structure. If you look at the video, it should be quite self-explanatory what exactly it is, how to inspect web elements. I have given a very basic understanding of how to inspect web elements. It is not the ultimate structure. I have spoken about inspecting web elements much in details later on in terms of like XPaths, right? How to work with them, and it will take a whole weekend to cover only XPaths, right? Here I've given you some understanding of using the methods like find by elements and how to quickly inspect an element using the Chrome Devtools. So I'm expecting that you guys have already seen them. And here are some basic scenarios I think I've shown you in the video. And then I have also spoken about in the week 8, I have spoken about what? Yeah, so this is a section that I would love to cover. If else and switch case, access specifier, understanding Java methods, OOPS principle, inheritance, constructors, polymorphism. This thing I will cover up in the next weekend at the initial stage. And then I will go to the next week, right? I will enable you with the week number 3, which is going to be on, okay, here, sorry, in the week number 3, I'm talking about these guys mostly. Constructors, overloading, and these things. Perfectly fine. So I'm going to enable week number 3 right after this class. And in week number 2, I think I have finished the week number 2 until the basic. Okay, yeah, perfectly fine. I've finished the week number 2 just with the HTML layouts and everything. Week number 3 is this guy, right? So this is perfect. I'm going to enable you with week number 3, go through them. We have a lot to cover in the next weekend in terms of the access specifier, inheritance, constructor. These are all Java concepts that we have to be totally, super comfortable with, right? All of them. And then we get started with locator strategies with absolute and relative XPath. And this week number 4 is absolutely dedicated on XPath because that's a complicated situation. You have a lot of methods, you have a lot of things to really grasp there. And I will be implementing some test cases here in the with hostel world. By the way, I will tell you one thing. I will tell you one thing even before we start, getting into the advanced Selenium stuff, right? You understand that these are all recorded videos. You will definitely see the difference between whatever is described in the video in terms of the application. Like you have to understand that I don't use dummy applications. When I'm teaching, I don't use dummy application. A lot of people will show you dummy applications, meaning what they will do is they will just create a simple web application where you have some forms that they will tell you to interact with, and they will simply cover the course just with that. I don't do that. Okay, I am trying to give you the live experience as much as I can. So I take up live application that is there. I take up live applications like rental cars, like Hostel Words, like Expedia, like any live application that you can think of. You can even give me suggestions, right? And I can show that to you. The point is simple. The point is that I don't have any control on all these live applications that I'm showing you for the automation. And these guys will keep on updating. I don't have any control on that. So the application will be updated. Now, whatever you see in the video, that will not be 100% matching to the current state of the application, because I'm not controlling the application, right? So with the video, you will get like the entire understanding of how it is done. And then you have to go into the same application and figure it out. That's the reason why I am here. We have Gagan here to help you out in any kind of roadblocks. So I'm really expecting you guys that if your problems are not solved, go to Gagan and ask for his help, book a call with him, ask for his help, and he will be taking you out of the roadblocks, right? Instead of like spending time in Googling and fixing it, and instead of like waiting for the 11th hour, like just before the class, then it doesn't make sense. But I'm expecting you to, like, today is Saturday. I'm enabling you with week number 3. I think you should get started from tomorrow. And then you have a problem, you talk to Gagan immediately. You have the whole week to reach out to us, and we can get you out of the problem. Like, I have seen some people are reaching out to me at a very later stage of the week. It clearly means that for them, the week was wasted. I don't want to waste your weeks. This is the time that you will self-learn. So please put the time properly. All right. So I'm going to enable you for week number 3 now. And by the way, guys, how did you like the class 2 today? If you can give me a quick understanding.
Yeah, very good.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank
Perfect.
you. Awesome.
So Vic, one more question.
Perfect.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah,
Sorry,
go on.
can you hear me?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, Agatha, go on.
Yeah, so last time there were 2 questions, I believe, asked during the classes. One was about the float, and second, I don't remember even what it was.
Yes.
Can we just briefly mention maybe next time the answers for those questions? So,
Yes. I have seen. So the thing is that with the second question that came from Avril about assignment operator, where you are self-incrementing. I mean, when you basically do this, right? So you're saying system that out of println, and here you're saying a plus equals say 2, right? And you have a value here of a equals 2, right? I didn't really get the time to look into this particular piece of problem, but for the other one, for the float, I have seen the explanation. I'm going to post the explanation in the Slack channel. I have seen a YouTube video. It is talking mostly in terms of the bit problem, meaning the point is that, let me try to put this through here. We have a bit system, right? So when we're talking about numbers, when we're talking about binaries, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I need one more. So you can say this is an 8-bit system. Okay, this is an 8-bit system. Now this system is an 8-bit system, meaning that every one of the square boxes is actually representing you a multiple of 2, meaning something like this. It's 2 to the power it's 2 to the power 0. I don't know how to write the 2 to the power 0, but 2, here 2 again, here 2 again, here 2 again. Okay, and every one of them is having a power, right? So let me just put it with my pen. This is my 0, that's my 1, that's my 2, that's my 3, that's my 4, 5, 6. Come on. Okay, 6. So this is a 8-bit number system. The point is that how do you represent this in terms of your decimals or in terms of your numbers, right? I told you that when we are working with a binary system, you want to suppose represent a number saying maybe 15, right? So you have to basically switch on and switch off this bits to get the value equals to 15. So meaning that 2 to the power 1 is 2. This is 2. This is, so I don't have to do this. I think I'll go for 6. I'll make it as 0. I'll make it as 0 here. This one will be 1. 2 to the power 4, 1. 2 to the power 9. This is your 1 again. So this is your 8. 8 plus 4 is 12. And here it is 2 to the power 1 is 2. And then it is really tough for me to draw it here, you know. It's tough for me to draw it here properly. So it's basically 1 and 0 combinations. Just a minute, let me use a simple point. So this will be 1 because 2 to the power 3 is 8 plus 2 is 4. So I just gave 1 and 1, that is your 12. And this is your 2 again. 12 plus 2 is 14. And for here, it is 1 again. So I got my 15 over here with this representation. So in terms of system, in terms of computer system, you just basically give 1, 1, 1, 1 that represent 15, right? This is basically a binary system. When you are working with the floating points, you have, I mean, this is an 8-bit system. You can create a 32-bit system as well. And then what they are trying to say here is, in terms of the video that I was watching on this, they are trying to use a complicated number system, and here they are segregating the whole floating point in 3 different sections. You know, I'll give you that video so you can look at it. Number 1 is called sine. Number 2 is called exponential. And number 3 is called as a mantissa. Okay. It is a quite a complicated structure, which was really which was explained to me in that video. I didn't really put my head into it much because I don't really need to put in the time and effort to really understand how the floating point is working. But what they're trying to say here is that they are creating 3 different sections up here. The number 1 is sine, that is a positive or a negative. If it is a minus, then it is 1. If it is a 0, it is a positive. In exponential, that's where the floating points will be discussed. And here is a number, mantissa, where they are going to just work with the numbers, like, you know, the left-hand side and the right-hand side of the decimal points. What I will do is, actually, I was looking at this video right there in the YouTube, and I will quickly point you there. I've learned this during my engineering, the binary number system, and obviously it is out of my mind now. So, and moreover, guys, to be very true, there is no point in spending like hours into this, something that is not going to be any beneficial to me, because I'm not really researching in binary number system. So I'll show you this guy, binary, sorry, floating point, float versus a double Java. And I was seeing one of the video there. Not this, not this. There was one guy who explained it a little bit well. Come on, I watched it? Yeah, I think this guy. Just a minute. Yeah, this guy. So you see, they have broken it into 3 different sections: Mantissa, exponent, and sign. And in the Mantissa, they are dealing with some fractional components. In the exponent, they are dealing with the front components. So I'll do one thing. I'll just quickly share this guy to you, and just watch this and let me know if it makes sense. Because yeah, if you want to go deeper into it, you can go deeper. But believe me, there are hundreds of other things to really put our heads into, which is much more complicated than, or much more, I think, complex than what they are talking about here. Because we have to learn the tools, we have to learn the programming language, we have to learn how it is to be how it works all together, and then what is a framework, because framework is something that will get you a job. Framework and how to deal with each and every component in web elements or API testing or web application or mobile application, that will get you a job. So you have to deal with those things first.
Thank you, Suvik. Just from practical side, to be honest, I don't care how it is described in this video. I think what is most interested for us from your practical side, from your experience, when you are declaring a Desmo, will you use mostly double or float? I guess
I mostly use double. I don't use float.
Okay, cool. Thank you. That's perfectly fine. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. All right, I'm going to enable week number 3, guys. Please start watching into it, and I'm going to also put in the solution for week number 2 in the same folder. See you next weekend, same time, and have a great week ahead. Bye, guys. Bye. Yeah, your query. I'll take up your query now. Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Nice one, dude.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. It was very good session. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Should I wait for you, Sovok, or
Magic, right? Yeah. You were there. You and
Okay.
Pratik. I will try to fix your problem. Yeah.
Cool. Cheers.